Okay, so Lindsay has the synastry one up so that you can remember that this video is about synastry. So what we're going to talk about, and I started a video this week, is how to run charts together. The other thing I'm going to talk about very soon, if not this week, is your role as an astrologer in keeping the integrity of astrology, because I can tell you that a lot of people will be like, oh, I met a new lover, can you run our charts? And you will be both the most popular person on the planet and potentially the most despised person on the planet, because your gift of astrology is really incredible. And what you say to the client is going to affect them possibly for the rest of their life. So think about like the level of responsibility that we have. And the little synastry chart that I did this week for you, this woman has been contacting me for 5 months. And I've been saying no. No, will not do your chart. No, go to France and find his birth records. No, go and meet his parents. Because if you run charts for every brand new love affair, you are going to be a very emotionally drained person. Because even another client that I had, this is her third lover this year, okay, in 6 months, and she's been proposed to again. And so she was like, don't tell him about the other guy that we did synastry charts for. Just talk to him about our charts. I'm really nervous you're going to tell him about the other guy from 2 months ago that I was engaged to. Folks, it's like that. All right, my life is like, if you knew how many messages I get, you would be like, I don't want to be an astrologer. So take your time, stay in your integrity.
And also put up a wall, right?
It's very important to keep your boundaries, and I will talk about that. I have several sheets written about that for today for you to remember what you do to stay in your integrity as an astrologer. So the synastry charts, everyone's like, oh, can you do a synastry chart for this? Here's the thing. The synastry chart tells you certain energies. It does not make predictions about whether this relationship will be successful. You cannot tell a client, oh, yes, this is your twin soul. I can see that. You can ask them, do you think this is your twin soul? Or they might tell you, this is my twin soul. They can say to you, oh, we were married in another lifetime, and you can see, oh my gosh, yeah, you have these conjunctions here, you have these conjunctions there. Together you make this incredible synastry. And some of you have already done your synastry charts in this group, so you know what I'm talking about, where you can see that you're very close in soul group, and that you are meant to come together again because your vertexes intersect with the other person's ascendant. That's very strong, because it's like the fated doorway is dependent on the other person's breath. The vertex conjunct the ascendant is very strong. Another one that's very strong is the Venus and Mars conjunction, because when Venus in one chart is conjunct Mars in the other chart, the sexual love, the power, the passion of sexual love is really strong, and it doesn't go away. So that's a very strong conjunction in the chart. The other thing that you're looking for, particularly when you're having a partnership, is compatible ascendants. And now the ascendants can be different. Like the chart that I read for you this week, one is Sagittarius, one is Capricorn. Others of you in the group, one of them is Scorpio, the other one is Virgo. So Scorpio feels things intensely. Virgo wants meticulous, linear analysis and details. And the woman's going, yeah, but can't you just feel it? Don't you just feel that? And the man's going, give me the details about that. I mean, what time did that happen for you? Is there scientific proof that is happening? So that's the way. The ascendant is really important, and you just need to understand each other's ascendant. If one person like Lindsay has a Cancer ascendant, and I'm walking all over her emotions and not letting her express herself, then pretty soon Cancer is either going to retreat and not talk to me anymore, or it's going to be like a lobster in hot water. It's going to start to scream. Ah! You didn't let me tell you my side of it. Okay, so that's the other side of Cancer. Is I always think of them as a lobster in hot water. When they're suddenly like, I have emotions and I need to express that. But more often, Cancer will just retreat and then not say anything at all. So that's something to remember when you're working with the different ascendants. And you want to look at this with your own mother, because once I looked at it with my own mother, I was like, oh, that's why my mom was like that. And here's me just walking all over her, with my bossy Sagittarius know-it-all, shoot for the stars, when my mom is just trying to make sure the walls match the couch. And that for her is really important. Okay. And I'm like, but Mom, the cosmos, we're in the photon belt. She's like, do you think I should get a new carpet in the house? Yeah, Mom, get a new carpet, but the photon belt, so it's like that. Everyone needs to know everyone else's ascendant in your whole family, like your children and everything. Then the sun sign, okay? And for night charts, the moon sign is more important. For day charts, the sun sign is more important. So if they're both like in fire, like Claude has an Aries sun sign, so that's fire. I have a Sagittarius sun sign, that's fire. So we're both fire. And so we meet on that level of spiritual like adventure, like let's do it. Let's have a spiritual adventure. That's a really good match. So if, say, you're both Earth, say you both have Earth sun signs, like a Capricorn and an Earth sign Virgo or an Earth sign Taurus sun, then the Earth signs, then they have that like sensual, slow, resources, material security, structures, crystallizing, that trusting, long-lasting relationship. Okay, and so forth. You can figure this out. The water sun signs, very emotional natures, the intensity of the Scorpio one, the cosmic dreaminess of the Pisces, the emotional sensitivity and nurturing feminine qualities of Cancer. So depending on what your sun sign is, you want to match the sun sign the best that you can. Now you can see in the video that I did this week with Felipe and Saskia that they not only don't match anywhere, okay, they don't match ascendants, but their suns square really bad, like to an exact degree. And I'm going, well, I don't know, maybe twin souls are meant to have more tension than anyone else on the planet. I don't know, and neither do you. And so that's the important thing about doing charts, is to be honest about the energies and tell them that the sun square, like exactly 27 and 27, like that's pretty tense. And their moon square. They have completely different moon energies, so that the moon square, one of them was in Leo and the other was in Scorpio. Like, you couldn't be further apart than a Leo and a Scorpio, because Leo wants to be dramatic and open and everybody look at us. And Scorpio's like, I think I'd like to just have some private space and not have everyone know what our relationship is about. So very different energies, but they think they're twin souls. And again, I held them off for 5 months before I was willing to read their chart. Another synastry that I did this week, the woman, I could see it in the chart. The woman was getting into a relationship with material security, and I asked her, you ask questions. How does this man make you feel, or how does it feel when you're making love with him? Does he feel like your soulmate? Does he feel like your sexual twin? Does he feel like your brother? And she said, actually, he feels like my father. And I was like, okay. How does that feel to make love with your father? It's pretty intense, folks. And then once, you ask some questions, it takes the burden off of you going, wow, well, what I see in the chart is this guy's your father. Ask some questions rather than put yourself in hot water by saying, it looks to me like you're marrying your father for material security. It's very tough to do synastry charts. I would say actually hold off. You can do them personally for you just to learn, but to be a professional astrologer, I, send them to me for a couple of years. I'm serious, because it's really tough and you can get yourself into some bad trouble. You can do them unprofessionally, just do them within your own family and do them for friends and stuff. But it's very like touchy what you say to people, and say, I'm very clear, like I don't suggest marriage. I also don't suggest polyamory. I suggest very clear, knowing the goddess and God within you when you're making love. And that has always kept me in the clear. So I never suggest marriage. I don't say, oh, you two should go down to the town hall and get your license right now. Holy crap, would you get in trouble with that? Do you hear me? Don't say that when you're an astrologer. Don't suggest marriage at all. Also, very strongly, please do not suggest polyamory. Can you see how much trouble you would get into that? So if you say, oh yeah, it would be fine if your wife just sleeps with the guy down the street, that would be fine. Polyamory, we're all one. It's unity. It's good. You can, she'll come back maybe sometime. Folks, do not suggest polyamory. Just say no to polyamory. It doesn't work. I've tried it. Okay? It does not work. And my womb doesn't allow it. So I also really listen to my body. When I met Claude, I was married to someone else, and I immediately was like, I cannot make love with you. Like, there's no way you can enter my womb again, because I'm now with Claude, and I actually love Claude. So I immediately had to sleep in a different room from a very saintly, noble, beautiful man that I was married to. So my womb cannot share space. No way. And the same with man. Think about that. With man, oh gosh, I'm really getting into this still, but with man's penis, with his lingam, he is like a magic wand. If he is going from one yoni to another yoni, or even leaking energy, like the leaking energy thing, he's leaking energy towards some other woman, I'm immediately like, no. No. So when you do synastry charts, these are some of my basic rules in order for you not to be majorly in trouble. But also, I think that in terms of ascension, be a master. Like, man and woman, it's your time to be a master. Would the masters do this? Would the masters do that? Be an ascended master now. Don't wait for some solar flash or something. Be an ascended master now. Now, in terms of synastry, what can you see? The moon signs, if they're both feminine moon signs, that means you're both going to have that feminine emotional response. Same with the sun signs. If they're both feminine sun signs, then you can both be okay in the feminine response. If they're not, then you know it's square. Then it's going to be a super big tension in the life, and maybe that person needs that. Maybe they need to have a lot of tension. So tell them that and see where they want to go with that. Now, this synastry, which I'm doing right now, is the inner wheel is the child, okay, and the outer wheel is the mother. And what's interesting is you can see exact conjunctions for Juno. Juno for the mother is exactly conjunct the moon of the child. Now that's very interesting. Sometimes you can see kind of past lives, and I'm not saying that it's definitely a past life. You might have just picked up an imprint, but Juno makes an exact conjunction in this chart. And then actually the sun's Juno makes an exact conjunction to the mother's black moon. So moon in Juno and black moon in Juno. This is a really interesting chart. There's a bunch of other conjunctions too, but those are the ones I want to talk about. So Juno, as you know, is the sacred marriage bed, and the moon is like your emotional well-being. Now, if you find that you have a child where you realize that you were their lover or their married partner in a past life, I would ask you to do something to cut those energetic cords, and let that child move into new relationships. I've seen this in other charts too, where the father and the daughter, and Lindsay's listened to one of those recordings. It's very private, okay? The father and the daughter are like twin souls. And what's happened is then anyone else that tries to come into the relationship of the daughter, like she cannot clearly make love with that man because she's got this twin soul relationship with her own father. So she had to move away. She had to cut energetic cords. This is also part of synastry where you say, oh, well, the relationship between the father and his partner is not going well at all too, because you need to make like a boundary around your love and work really hard when your twin soul is on the planet, or else they can't have a relationship. So you need to do some what's called energetic cord cutting, and Sandra Rollis does have that energetic cord cutting. What I also suggested in that relationship, which I have a recording of, but it's not to be part of our course, is I've said, okay, father and daughter, go and download. Spend 10, 20 minutes just like downloading, looking in each other's eyes if you need to. But other than that, do not keep your emotional, energetic cord to your father. Do not cut it, sever it, close it, put a bubble around you. Be very careful because this does not allow, for instance, the daughter to have a really powerful relationship with her partner. So that's some of how you use synastry. See how complicated that is?
Yeah. And also, like, they clearly didn't come to this lifetime to be like romantic partners. Like, so I think it's probably part of the work, right? To like cut your tie with your soulmate or whatever.
Yeah. So Lindsay listened to that one, and it is a private one, so I can't share it with you, but they came to the planet with a higher octave of their soul's work, which was, okay, my father's going to be my twin. And the daughter actually revealed that at some point he cut energetic cords because she was starting to be sexual with him. This is very complicated, okay? But when she was an adolescent, she kept doing inappropriate sexual things because she could feel the other lifetimes when they were lovers, when they were married, when they were together, when they were mother and child. And she has to be really clear with her energy, and that's part of her soul's work here. So, it's really complicated, and when we start to do Zoom conferences together, we can use chart examples and see that. The other thing that you can run is in synastry is a multi-chart synastry, so you can put as many as 5 different names, and you can do like, I did my grandmother, my mother, me, and both of my daughters, and find the common point. I think ours was at 9 degrees Sagittarius, which is Antares, the heart of the Scorpion. So that heart of the Scorpion and all that energy around the royal star Antares is coming through my family line. You can also look at the Sabian symbol for 9 degrees Sagittarius and see what is the kind of the tarot card reading for that line. And you'll find that you've incarnated into a family with a really certain work on the planet, and just bringing that to consciousness is important. So that's part of the synastry with my own daughter. It's really important to look at the synastry with your own kids. So with my younger daughter, her Pluto is conjunct my sun, and I think I've talked to you about that before, where every day it feels like death and rebirth. Like, she can't help it. She's got to be Pluto for me. She's got to rip me apart and leave me for dead. So she comes home every day and cuts off my head. And so what I do is I'm just willing to hand it to her now and let whatever needs to be dissolved in me be dissolved so that my soul is alchemically gold. So realize that you'll often also incarnate with someone who just rips your soul apart. And that's what my daughter does for me. So realize that that might happen in synastry. One of the charts that I read this week of the man and the woman, the man, his Pluto is conjunct her Venus, and his birthday is the same birthday as her father's birthday. I was like, well, you realize that his Pluto is exactly to the minute conjunct your Venus. So do you feel like a little girl who's been abducted and is being drawn into the underworld by this relationship? Ask a question. Ask the question. Questions are more important than you saying, well, it looks like he's the god of the underworld and he's dragging you down into the abyss. Don't make it a statement. Ask a question when you're doing the synastry. Okay? So let me stop here and see what Lindsay has to say about synastry. What else do they need to know?
The one part that was a little, so I understand, so you look for all the conjunctions, and you like circle them, and then you go back through and you look at the ascendant and you compare the ascendants and you think about like what sign it's in and if there's any shapes connected to it, symmetry or geometry. And then you look at the moon, same thing, and think about that, and then the sun. And then this is my question. So like, for instance, I wrote this to you, and my brain's having a little bit of a hard time because, so say like the first house is whatever, there are two different signs. Like, so for me, the synastry chart I'm doing, my whatever partner is Sagittarius ascendant, and my Sagittarius is the 6th house. So we have a lot of lineups.
Yeah.
Because I ran the chart, so he was in the center. So my gut was I had to bring in like the healing health service aspect is connected to his first house and his ascendant. So there's like going to be a lot of work that we're doing is like with healing and health. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that is the other piece. So for instance, in this chart, you can see this ascendant is in this 5th house. So the mother's ascendant is connected directly to within a close enough. There's a very close within. The part of fortune is right on the heiress in the 5th house of sexuality, of breaking frequency loops. This is a mother working with her own son of how to break frequency loops around sexuality. And again, the other ones were Juno. So something from, like we were talking about, breaking frequency loops from other lifetimes when you've been the marriage partner to this person. Because the mother's ascendant is hitting the heiress in his 5th house, he is breaking the frequency loop around the sexuality, and her life breath is like she needs to kind of like sever that so he can go into his own creativity and sexuality, just like Lindsay's talking about. That person's ascendant falls into her 6th house of healing, and I very much feel like his ascendant and his breath, his life force, has a lot to do, however long that relationship lasts, it has to do with her health and healing, and whatever crisis she's going through in her own health and healing right now, he's bringing the very life breath to that, because that's where his ascendant is.
And just because I have your attention. So, and also his Venus is, he's on that side. I switched it around this time. Never mind. No, it's confusing.
That's
just
okay.
Forget it.
But you'll know.
Yeah.
The ascendant is really important. Where is the ascendant in the other person's house? And if it's connected to Eris, then it means like there's some frequency loop that needs to be broken there. But if it's connected to Venus, then it might be some love relationship that you are working on. And depending on what houses, it's like, if it's Lindsay's 1st house and it's his 5th house, he's working on waking up his loving. She's working on restoring her breath. So it's kind of confusing. And by the fall, start to collect a few charts that we can look at and we can examine together so that I can read a chart straight on for you. Okay? Is that great for synastry?
Yeah.
And synastry is different than composite. Composite is a whole other thing. Don't get into it yet. All right? I will explain composite to you. That's only when you actually live with someone and you're one person. Don't do composite for like you and some guy that you met at the fair. All right, don't do that, because composites really take years and years of becoming one person. All right, let's stop there for now.